Hi, I'm Josh Carving, and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video. But first, Sun Wukong versus Hercules. The fight was very good. It basically went about as expected. I knew that there was a lot of stuff on Hercules' side that a lot of people were banking on that just didn't really work. Like, for some inexplicable reason, people were trying to scale, mortal Hercules to, a full power Zeus, which is, no, that's definitely not how that's going to fly. And then there were just some speed feats that were just really, really silly that people were trying to attribute to Hercules. So, yeah, I'm not terribly surprised that Sun Wukong ended up winning. The animation was fun. I noticed a lot of people saying it was very short, which kind of, but I felt it basically did what it needed to. And yeah, I don't have terribly much to say about that one. It was very good. I like that it opens the doors for more mythological characters to be in Death Battle. That is always a good thing. And then we have the next time, Boba Fett versus Predator. Yeah, it's okay. There's another fight that I really like for Predator that had, a 0% chance of happening. But nevertheless, whenever you get one of the characters in that it's like, oh, yep, this character's in, so that character's probably not going to be back for at least another long time, at least 2 seasons, usually, then you're like, oh, okay. And yeah, so we have a Star Wars character, which we have seen plenty of Star Wars so far, against Predator. So this is going to be slightly interesting because a lot of this one comes down to where exactly you're scaling Boba Fett. He doesn't actually have as many direct feats as you'd think. I believe if you were to actually compare directly the exact 2 feats, no scaling, that the 2 of them have, Predator might actually win, if only because of the fact that one of his weapons, it's like a laser that he has, it actually says that it has the heat of the core of a star. So, yeah, that one would definitely do the trick. Lightsabers have gone through his armor, and it wouldn't, that's hotter than lightsabers have been shown to be, which, weirdly enough, lightsabers have never actually been given a stated temperature, which you'd think they would, because I feel like Star Wars is pretty, exacting in its details some of the time. But then we come down to the issue of basically where you're putting Boba Fett, because yes, Predator would win in an isolated scenario where neither one of them is being scaled to anyone. Predator doesn't really have that many people you can directly scale him to. There's a couple crossovers and things like that, but generally you don't use those. Obviously we're not scaling him to Superman. It'd be weird if we scaled him to people like Punisher, I think he's faced, or the Archie comics. Not Sonic Archie comics, but the actual, Archie himself. That was a weird one. So the big issue is there's a couple avenues that you can use to scale Boba Fett, and if he gets even a single one of them, he basically takes it. So first off, do you scale Boba Fett to the Jedi that he has personally killed? There are a few that he has fought and killed, including he fought Darth Vader. He has killed a Jedi Master back in there was that arena fight, and one of them went for Count Dooku, and Boba Fett managed to shoot and kill him. So a Jedi Master was killed by him. And then what's actually funny is that the specific Jedi that was killed was what's his name? Uriel Poof's replacement. Obviously that doesn't necessitate scaling to planet level with Uriel Poof, but it's just funny that, you could theoretically bring him up, at the very least. And then, so he has fought several Jedi on his own. He's fought bounty hunters who have also fought Jedi. And then the question of, do you scale him to Jango Fett? I think it's somewhat reasonable, considering both of them essentially had similar training. He trained directly under him. He's a direct clone of him. I'd say it's the weakest avenue of scaling, personally, out of the three options, because he's directly fought several Jedi. But if you basically give him scaling to Jango Fett, then holy shit, he scales to Obi-Wan, so done. And then the last one is scaling to other stormtroopers. They are all clones of the same person, and were more or less taught combat in a similar regard. And obviously, Boba Fett, just, I guess by virtue of hype, would probably be above the likes of a typical stormtrooper, or clone trooper, rather. Stormtroopers are afterwards when they stop using the clones, right? But you'd basically get the situation where anything that any of the clone troopers can do, you can potentially attribute to Boba Fett. This puts in a whole shitload of scaling, considering they are the ones who literally did Order 66, which, yes, they did surprise them, and they did shoot them in the back, but several of those Jedi went down swinging. They took out a few with them. They fought. There was actually fights. It wasn't just like a knife in the back and we're done. So several Jedi Masters gone. In that regard. And then you also have anything from the Clone Wars. So that actually gets you into a few Sith as well that he could potentially scale to. I believe that some of the ones there, like Rex, I believe he has an encounter where he does fight and fight alongside Ahsoka Tano against Darth Maul, if I recall. And yeah, so there's just a ton of characters that get into the general scaling of Star Wars that I think it would be reasonable to give Boba Fett. But if he's basically just being limited to only his own personal feats, I think he might actually lose. In terms of arsenal, them basically giving him a lightsaber is pretty likely. Other than that, I think it's mostly just his, like, upgraded, like, I think it's Beskar armor, if I recall. And, like, the flamethrower, which, okay, so for the preview that we've seen so far, we have seen that most of Boba Fett's arsenal has actually already been taken out. Like, he lost his blaster, he used his missile, he had the jetpack destroyed. So at this point, he's basically down to, like, his knee missiles, his flamethrower, and the lightsaber. So I really hope that the flamethrower is actually used to create, like, a forest fire in the environment there. That would be really good. It's a good callback to, which one was it? I think it was Predators that they did it. Because, like, the whole thing was in Predator 1, or, I might be mistaken, but I think it was Predators, where they lit everything on fire so that the Predator couldn't see them. Either way. It is a composite Predator, but I don't necessarily think that that's going to necessarily make a difference. Generally speaking, Predators don't outstat things. They usually outskill them, because they're guerrilla fighters. So yeah, and 90% of the time what they're fighting is just, hey, look, it's people. And yes, all of their stuff is going to mangle the hell out of a typical person, but it's not going to necessarily make that big of a difference. One of the things that I see a lot of people bring up is the arm-mounted nuke. It's not really much of a factor. In the second movie, he armed it and was like, "Oh, you're fucked now." And the guy was just like, "Okay," and then he just cut it in half, and that just stopped it. It's like, it's really not that much of an issue, though I can imagine it would make for a very good set dressing for Boba Fett to, like, quickly get out of range of it. That'd be fun. But yeah, that's all I've got to say for this one. We'll see if we end up getting the next fight, or what we end up getting in the meantime because I think we're going into, like, a 2-month season break. So we'll see what we end up getting in that time. Might help me be able to work on a few projects. But other than that, I will see you guys later, and have yourselves a good one.